Hi everybody, this is Seth Gorden. I have been keeping some development logs for my video game, The Boy Who Stole the Sun, and I'm going to start doing some videos instead of typing it all out. It's easier for me to just kind of talk through and show the problems, plus you'll get to see more interactive versions of the game in progress than I can do as GIFs or just like putting together a bunch of video links every time. So we're going to try it out this way. I think it'll go a little smoother. I've got my code up here because I'm going to refer to this line of code right here in just a little bit. I want to show off a critical bug that I have created in my game, and yeah, we'll take a look at that. I'm going to go ahead and launch the game. And I'm going to switch over to full screen here so you can see this work. I'm going to skip through the intro stuff and jump right into the game. And we'll just test some stuff and I'll show you. Right now the snow's falling and I'm waiting for this little snow pile to get bigger. Everything's kind of in a test version of itself. I mostly need to test my code pathways that I'm making for the game interactions. So not everything is exactly the way it will be later. Kind of standard disclaimer for games in progress. What you see now is not necessarily the end result. But what I have working is that I can walk up to this snow pile when it's really big and punch it and this little critter pops out. It's a flurry. It's a flurry. He already doesn't like me. But I can run up and pick him up. And I'm going to show you a one of the weirder bugs that I came across here. When I go through this little stairs down here, I'm going to go into a cave, and I guess I should show the first part of this first, which is that if I walk through here, this part works. It's functional. I can walk between maps and I can walk back out. But when I go up here and I grab this guy and I walk through while I'm holding something, something else happens, where when I walk down, I go really fast. If I try to walk to the side, I also walk down really fast. And this is not the correct motion at all, and it took me a while to figure out why that was happening. I realized that if I put this guy down, I would then be walking correctly again. If I pick him up, it's fine again. If I go out the other exit here, it shoves me back down. It's the same problem again. It's just while I'm holding something and walking through that the bug is exposed. If I turn on the debug collision information, you can see there's a bunch of pink boxes. The important ones here are the ones around the boy and the critter that he's carrying, and that they overlap. So what I eventually figured out is that that the simulation has both of those collision volumes turned on at the same time, and the boy is getting like shoved down because the physics simulation is trying to resolve that collision and separate those volumes. And then I was like, well, why is the collision volume on at all? Because normally if I go back out here and I just unleash a guy and I pick him up and I turn on the collision volume, there's only one rectangle here. I'm not getting shoved down, so obviously I've turned on his collision volume at some point. If I switch back over to this code screen here, I can kind of show you what's been going on. There's this line of code here. This is in a function that sends the player to the spawn point. This always gets called when there's a map change. I've got a couple things that I do here when my player character is holding on to something. I send him to the alternate animation, which is the one with his hands up in the air so it looks like he's holding something. I pause him so that he is standing still until the player gives input. He should not be animating like walking when he's standing still, so that's what that does. But then this third line of code was in here, which I don't know why I wrote this code. I think I was trying to solve some other bug and wasn't thinking about what I was typing. But I enabled the other actor on the map transition, the one that I'm holding, and which is to say that I enabled that physics volume around him. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was just an in-between piece of code to test something or try to fix something else, and then I left it in there, even though it probably didn't solve whatever I was looking at the time, and then I got that crazy motion going on. So I'm going to comment out that bit of code and stop the program, relaunch it. We'll hop back over to the full screen display here and jump in, and we'll try it again, and you'll see that that bug's gone away, because the collision should not be on for little critters that we're carrying at any time until we put them back down again, because they're up in the air. They shouldn't be colliding with things on the ground anyway. So with that line of code gone, everything's back to normal. Huzzah! But I won't say the embarrassing number of hours that it took me to figure out that bug. Sometimes it just goes that way. So a couple other things, just features that aren't working quite right. One of them, well, I guess I can tell you the features I was working on leading up to that. One is that I can toss that guy in shallow water and he'll become a little block of ice there. Same is true if I knock these other guys in and they decide to get into the water. They will, you know, if they come to rest in there, they'll drop in and become ice. I need to make that a little snappier, so there's only certain points in the scripts that it checks to drop those guys into becoming ice. I'm going to change that up in a little while so that it's kind of just a lower level system check that anytime they drop on those, that it will run a little routine to see if they're supposed to respond to that new terrain type. This guy should have the same thing happen to him right there. These little critters also know how to respond to falling in the ocean. I can pick them up and run back over here and drop them in the ocean, and they'll go kersploosh. That's part of the fun. That's one of my favorite little effects so far, is just dropping them in the ocean. So that stuff works. I also enabled it so the boy can fall into the ocean, but there's a little kind of weird thing about that, is that he can drown before he actually gets in the water, as you can see right there. It splashes even though he's still sitting on land. The reason for that is that there are these transition tiles for the outer edges of the ocean that have land on them, and I did not think about that when I implemented it. So now I've got to, I kind of cut back the coastline a little bit so to be just close enough for now. But what I'm going to have to do eventually probably is just make it so the center tiles of any terrain type are what register as that other terrain type, and that transition tiles will come back as normal. The transitions won't do anything special. It's got to be walking into the middle of those zones with special properties. And I'm going to have to relaunch the game here to show you anything else, because I don't have a way to bring the boy back to life yet. I haven't put a key in there to reset him. Another thing that's happening here that I don't understand yet, because most of the data is correct, I can't figure out why I'm getting this result, but this all the data for the terrain in this cave here says that this little bit of water is supposed to be what I call a deep pool, but for some reason when I query it, it comes back as ocean. So if I walk on there, it'll splash and he will drown the same way that he does in the ocean, which is not exactly how I think that's supposed to be processed. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out why that data is coming back that way. He's dead again, so have to relaunch it. I think that's oh, that's not everything. I guess these flurries that come out of these snow piles that accumulate, they are eventually only going to be kind of a low-level enemy that just make the boy colder when they dash at him and bump into him. I've got it set up a couple different ways so that he can damage the boy's health right now. If I walk up here, he'll come and charge at me, and you'll see he does a little like ouch animation, and the health gets depleted. You'll also notice there's little red pixels, if you can see those, that pop out, where it's just a little kind of blood effect to let the player know that some health is being lost. If I punch him again, that'll give me 2 guys coming at me. For now, I've made it so whenever the flurry's not dashing at the player, but if I just bump into him, it damages the or it freezes the boy a little bit. You can see there the screen does a color flash. I think I'm only going to have that color flash happen when an entire heart is fully frozen, and not at other times, so we don't have things flashing all over the place constantly. It's a lot of visual information right now to have occurring at once, but just kind of dialing everything one piece at a time. There goes that flurry jumping into the ocean. I think maybe I'll have them not do that so often unless it's just comical enough to leave in there. But these enemies are also resources. I'm planning on having a lot of the stuff in the game work this way, where everything has kind of a purpose, even if it's an obstacle at first. Like you can see when they fall into this shallow water, they become little. You can sort of make bridges out of them where I don't have to walk through the water if it's frozen. That's kind of meant to be a fun thing and a little navigation puzzle. Yeah. I think that's most of the stuff. I've done a lot of testing of different features. I tried out a lot of different blood effects for the boy, some of which were just like ghastly and way too much. It's weird when you work at low resolution how a lot of red pixels becomes gory real quick. So all I could figure right now that works the way I want it to is just a couple of red pixels for when you get hit. But I think that when a heart is depleted, I'm also going to drop a little blood on the ground when you lose an entire heart, just to increase the sort of visual impact of losing a whole heart. You don't have a lot to begin with. There's 4 of them. They can each take, I think, 4 hits in this or something like that. 3 or 4. I forget what I did. Let's see. Oh, that's freezing. Will he dash at me? He will try. There's 1 hit. There's 2 hits. There's 3 hits, and I don't have a death scenario for the boy yet when he dies from health depletion, but that's also on the to-do list. Anyway, whole bunch of hours of work here to get all of these features and bugs and sort of in-progress things put together, but there's a little preview of the game. That's all I got for now. Hopefully I'll have another bunch of fun features. Some of these will be kind of tweaked into place. And I'll see you next time in my next development log. Thanks for watching, everybody. Catch you next time.